Hello Grody, hello PI Mittens. This is the top, or round of 64 LCQ between Micah and SirLargeness. Should be an interesting match. We've already seen Largeness win the coin flip to go second, and Micah going first with the challenger, which is generally very strong when going first, but the representative coming out on Largeness's side with an ability that can somewhat neutralize the ability. So Micah spending out all of his fate, which is very rare for the Dragon Splash to do. Largeness is on the Scorpion Splash with 2 fate worse than death. He's decided to hold back 4 fate just to threaten the maximum number of permutations. So we see a quick pass in the conflict phase, both players drawing 5, no surprises there. The Whisper coming in for a poke. It's pretty safe to poke here. You'd most like to see meditations, but versus a player already on 4 fate, you'd probably next want to see the Manicured Gardens. Shameful and Fertile would be a little bit unfortunate, but you do have to attack sometime. Always awkward to see a player buy a challenger and then not use it on the first conflict. The ability on that representative really just preventing them from productively using the challenger. We do see Shameful, which in the Crane Mirror is always the worst to hit first. So Largeness is getting a free honor on the representative without even having to commit it to the conflict. He can use its ability to pull it back. So we could easily see a conflict character come down after this conflict to try to stand that representative. With the fire ring being contested, we don't want to give the challenger an honor token for free, so it's probably not going to pull back unless there's another answer already. So yeah, the Whisper gets bowed by the box. It's only at 2 skill after being dishonored, and we already saw Voice of Honor cancel the court games to try to re-honor that Whisperer. So now it is as safe as it's ever going to be to pull back. Micah on 0 fate can't threaten a conflict character. So that so far things have gone about as well as they could for Largeness. I think he's going to pass through his first conflict or drop a character down. I would actually be surprised if he attacked with the representative, although he he attacks right into his opponent's shameful display. So a very dynamic first round here. I guess the fates have switched to their favorite. You know, it's a phrase, fortune favors the bold, but this was an extremely bold attack. I don't think it's going to pay off. 4 fate is still enough to cast a fate worse than death, but you're not going to want to do it into a Voice of Honor. So yeah, this does prevent the challenger from attacking back, but the challenger has an extra fate than the representative and is honored, so in a stalled board state, Mike is favored. Although, oh my gosh, we see a counter war already. We see Forged Edict used to cancel a Voice of Honor, which was used in turn to cancel an Admit Defeat. So the Admit Defeat goes through, and this is 1 to 0. Let's see if Micah can remember to use box. Micah's going to use the policy debate before using box, which is less risky. So he can get rid of that Steward of Law to prevent any shenanigans from the second conflict. But then he would have to open himself up to the fan. Maybe it would have been better to box first. Yeah, I think it would have been better to just box first. Then, oh, he had to let go, so that explains that. Trading the cards is fine here. He's up a card. With the hand revealed out of largeness, you can be very confident in using your let go. So 2 conflicts, no rings claimed, and that's going to be it for the turn because largeness has no conflict characters anymore, and Micah has no fate. Yeah, so that sequencing makes sense given that the let go was lined up. He just wanted to scout things out before committing anything. You have to give this turn to Micah. He's got a character out with that's honored and that also has more fate than his opponent. His opponent's big guy, which is dishonored. The only thing going in largeness's favor, and it's a big one, is his 3 fate that he's held back. 3 fate's a lot, but no one's gonna have the ability to get the favor for their Yoshi. Largeness has opened up a 3 honor lead. I don't expect this game to go to honor, but it could potentially cause Micah to be unable to draw as aggressively as he'd like to in the mid game. So I think this is a decent flop for largeness. It allows him to stabilize. The Savvy Politician would combo well with any Way of the Cranes that he could get through. He's already burned one of the Voices of Honor. So Savvy Politician and Brash Samurai can set up a pretty commanding honor presence on the board, which is very relevant in this matchup. On Micah's side, that Cautious Scout could help him deal with the Shameful Display if he finds an answer for the Brash Samurai. And Favorable Ground with Challenger is a very strong combo. Could be that answer he's looking for. Yeah, Micah being very conservative and methodical, playing out a Doji Whisper with 2 fate. Let's jump over to the deck lists to see how many assassinations Largeness is running, and we see that he is on 2. So a 2 fate Whisper is a very risky play if he doesn't have something to back it up. He knows that there are no cards in the first 4 for Largeness that answer the Whisper, but those next 5 could easily contain an answer for that card. Yeah, 1 fate on every ring is not too common, Mittens, but I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times, usually in Crane vs. Scorpion or Crane vs. Crane. I think I've seen it in Scorpion vs. Scorpion as well, but it's pretty comical to see, I think. So first conflict going to Largeness, I'll be interested in seeing what he does with it. Possibly just a poke with the Mia Mystic, very low investment. Or he could just not attack. So perfect flip here, he's revealed the meditations. This is the attack to do that with. Each of his other characters have 1 fate, which is very threatening for meditations. He's up to 6 fate. His revealed 4 cards are Calling in Favors, Charge, Cloud the Mind, Outwit. That Mia Mystic also turns on the Cloud the Mind, which I expect to come down on Doji Challenger at the opportune time. So interestingly, other than the charges, Largeness runs no military buffs in his list. He has another Admit Defeat in the list, and the 3 charges. So that's all he can represent in a military conflict. There are no bonsai and no swords. Yeah, Micah putting a sword down on that 2-Fate Whisper. It's a decent play if he has a voice to back it up. Forged Edict is off, although I think Largeness is only running the 1. And obviously Censure at 1x and Voice of Honor at 2x are both off as well. So we see the Calling in Favors on the sword. We knew the Calling in Favors was there. That flips the conflict back to SirLargeness. But we see a For Shame, which is a strong counter to any Dishonored character to bow it. So the charge on the Savvy Politician, which I said we may see, it's not the most skill you can get from a charge, but it does force another answer for Micah. Micah using his Bonsai. There's no answer to Bonsai in Largeness's list. It would have to be an Assassination or the second Admit Defeat. Not even a second charge would turn this conflict back in his favor at this point. So while Largeness is thinking over his next play, we can just survey the board. So Largeness is down 1 Fate, up 4 Honor now. Massively fewer Fate on his characters. And looks like he's going to lose this first conflict. The one thing the Savvy Politician does for him is it forces Micah to leave the Whisper in the conflict as opposed to utilizing his favorable ground to leave it standing. Micah deciding to attack with the Challenger here. Hitting Meditations, which is a bit unfortunate. He can't expect the Challenger to have its ability. Let's see if he's got the second let go. Largeness goes ahead and defends with the Samurai to protect the province. This is the Water Ring, so threatening a stand on that Whisper. think Micah's just looking to protect himself this turn. Let's see if this is a real attack or if he pulls it back at getting the bow on the samurai. You know, I don't know that I would have stayed in the conflict to have my fate removed. Does look like he's in it to win it. His second conflict would be pretty free unless Largeness has drawn his rival. Only running 2, though. Again, Largeness just not running that many answers to military conflicts. Yeah, Micah content to pass so long as both of those characters are still in the conflict. If Representative pulls back, I think he'll reevaluate whether or not he wants to actually win. Though a 0-1 Representative is a bit less threatening than it otherwise would be. For shame coming down on Challenger. That is the first for shame. So 14 cards in, you should expect your opponent to have brought it. So this Challenger is just getting stripped of all of its fate, its honored status. And now we need to see another card from Micah to actually win. I think maybe he's overstayed his welcome in this conflict. Yeah. See, he pulls out now. I don't know that just getting the first shame out is worth it. As things stand, they're tied on favor. Stats standing is in Micah's favor. Both players have their political conflict remaining. Conflict characters could significantly alter the balance of power. Haven't seen Way of the Crane from either player. Voice of Honor, of which there are 2 or 1 more in Largeness' deck, is on for him. I don't know if I'd expect both Voices and the Edict in the top half, but it might be brazen to play into it. Unnecessary with the Fate advantage on board. Neither player has made much of a dent in the opponent's defenses, though. Okay, Micah passing, so now it is Largeness's, or Largeness has already passed his conflict opportunity, so the 1 conflict opportunity remaining goes to Micah. He has to be very confident that he's going to win to do this attack, and even then it might not be worth it. If the Representative just stays standing, Largeness gets the favor with Yoshi showing and 4 Fate held back. So yeah, they're just going to stare each other down. Will we see a Young Harrier from either player? Neither player running Young Harrier, there's no way to drop Glory into the field at this point. So this is what we're going to see. Yeah, Largeness is just going to keep threatening that Yoshi, most likely. And we do see the first Guest of Honor come out for Micah. This card has the potential to really upset this matchup, as most of the answers come in the form of events. We know that Largeness is holding a Cloud the Mind, and he is seeing Shugenja again in his row. So I suspect we'll see him buy it. Just to force Micah to have his second let go. the list only runs, well, the list runs all three, is precisely for this type of scenario. So after the draw, it'll be close to a 50-50 shot that he has it or doesn't. Micah getting another challenger on first player, but choosing to put sorry, that's the one from before. He's buying a Savvy Politician with his second buy. We'll see if he tries to force through Way of the Crane this round. An honored guest of honor would be very influential on the board. So we're actually pausing on the draw phase action step. So with Micah having priority, he's evaluating whether or not he thinks Largeness is holding the second Voice of Honor, and he did have it and used it to cancel Way of the Crane. Let's see if we see a second Way of the Crane. About a 50% shot that he's holding it, although I think he would have fired it off faster if he had two of them. Yep, sacrificing the storehouse to try to dig for another Way of the Crane, I think. He'd really like to go into the conflict phase with Voice of Honor control. Two more Voices of Honor in Micah's list. The only counter remaining in Largeness's list is the single copy of Censure. So with no provinces broken and the lowest player on 8 honor, I have to imagine that the player who is up on cards is potentially in the lead. After this round, we'll see 3 characters leaving for Largeness and 2 or 3 characters leaving for Micah. With waning hostilities coming down, we'll see what conflict each player decides to take. If we just count the glory in play, Micah has 5 and Largeness has 7. So if we just pass through this turn, the natural conclusion would be Largeness gaining the favor. So we see 1 copy of Cloud the Mind come on Guest of Honor, the second copy of Let Go discard the Cloud the Mind, and a second copy of Cloud the Mind on the Guest of Honor. I suspect this one will stick. It takes Largeness down to 1 fate, but wow, we saw all 3 Let Goes in the top half of Micah's deck. You know, this is why he runs them. But very fortuitous to both see the first Guest of Honor and have the Let Goes to protect it from Cloud the Mind. SirLargeness has 1 more Cloud somewhere in his deck. It may be hard for him to activate it after this turn though, because there are not a ton of Shigenja that you want to be playing every turn for Crane. Yeah, we see the 2 Fateless characters go back into that Meditations. This is going to be a 4-skill conflict. Plenty of options for defense for Largeness. And this is the Fire Ring. PI Mittens in chat mentioning somewhat sarcastically that it takes a lot of skill to draw 3 Let Goes in the top half of your deck. Obviously it's chance, and getting the first Guest of Honor in this matchup is also luck. We'll see if it's enough to actually break the stalemate, though. Yeah, Largeness just standing back. If he chooses not to defend this, it is highly likely that he's just going to get the favor and play out that Yoshi next turn. That will help him get some tempo back, but Micah's sitting on 7 fate, so he has the ability to just spew out characters if he needs to. Yeah, I suspect he didn't defend because he didn't think he could really hold it. Do you see the first assassination come out on that Doji Whisper? That does put a dent in. Micah pulls in the Challenger. Does turn off the brake. Maybe he has this 1x admit defeat. I would think that Micah is looking to actually get some breaks here. The game has to end eventually. And there is no obvious honor conclusion to a Crane versus Crane game. But nope. He just passes through and wins the conflict 6-3. If Largeness attacks with the Mia Mystic, it's very unlikely to do anything. He's winning favor as it is with no conflict declared. Slurping up that 2 fate off the air ring, I think this is a reasonable play. He's going to be down on 7 honor after this turn with the assassination played, and Micah would be up on 9. Micah defending with the guest of honor. He's not winning favor and he has no more conflict, so it's an obvious play. Now with Cloud the Mind off of the guest of honor, I think there's basically no interaction in the conflict from Largeness. Yeah, so really nothing lost from that conflict for Largeness, but he did gain the 2 fate for declaring 1. Now with the favor, his 1x censure is on, and he can play out that Yoshi. The board is reasonably even if you discount the impact that the honor status tokens have on Crane characters. Yoshi does provide the avenue for Largeness to actually get some tempo here. I have to say, that's a pretty decent flip for Micah sitting on 14 fate. Gives him the ability to play 2 strong characters. And it does look like honor might be the way to win this game faster. The Imperial Palace seems to imply that Largeness only has this 1 turn with the favor. 1 trigger on the Yoshi is not enough to flip this matchup completely on its head, especially with Guest of Honor in play. So you haven't seen any court games or Way of the Crane from Largeness, so chances are he'll have a decent shot at honoring Yoshi. Micah holding back 5 fate, I think, signifies that he does have a political rival. In these kinds of narrow boards, a rival can be pretty good for actually getting a conflict in. So this flip is guaranteed to give a fate to Micah. Will it be the Art of Peace or the Manicured Garden? Micah, the one Crane player who regularly plays Art of Peace, it is just way worse than Fertile Fields or Manicured Gardens in this situation. So we haven't seen any Miyamoto's Fury yet. I think we're going to see one here if anything interesting happens in this conflict. Fury does have some value. It can't be cancelled now that Guest of Honor is on the field, and the favorable ground allows Largeness to pull back the challenger and have it be a pain again for a second conflict. Players pass through, and Micah claims the Earth Ring on defense. He's really going to have to be careful about the potential for a fate worse than death on his Hotaru. Chris, or Largeness, is running a 2 fate worse than death version of the Crane build. 25 cards in or so, not having seen one of them is something that, it's a situation I've been in, but it's not a likely one. Yoshi versus Hotaru is pretty evenly matched until you see a fate worse than death. We do see the political rival that I said we might. This allows Micah to force Largeness to use the favorable ground if he wants to defend anything. Also allows him to threaten an attack without putting Hotaru at risk of fate worse than death. Let's see which air province Micah reveals. I think it's going to be Fertile Fields, because they've been going tit for tat with provinces, and that's the corresponding province in Largeness's deck. Nope, they've broken the symmetry. It's the Manicured Garden. That puts Largeness up to 8 fate once he uses it. Plenty of fate to drop a political rival, potentially into a policy debate. Still plenty more Stewards of Law that haven't been played, and I think 2 more first shames from each player. We'll see them eventually, the way this game's been going. This one might be decided when we get to the bottom of the conflict deck, so we'll have to wait and see. We see the fan. This threatens a break, forces Yoshi in. Largeness still has a skill lead at this point. We see the 1x admit defeat, and we see the Yoshi trigger. probably digging for a conflict character sitting on that 8 fate. This could be our first break, but I've said that before and been wrong. Largeness taking this opportunity in a political conflict to court games up his Yoshi. That's the first honoring card that he has played this game, so plenty more where that came from. Now that he's played it, Voice of Honor is off, really threatening again that Fate Worse Than Death. Could also threaten for shame and similar cards. See a Wave the Crane come down on Hotaru. This turns Voice of Honor back on. Makes Fate Worse Than Death a lot less appealing immediately. The Favor was already discarded, so the Censure is a dead card again. We do see Policy Debate come down with the Voice of Honor, canceling it. A lot of the times, the best answer is to Voice of Honor that Policy Debate. The 9 versus 5, it would have basically been a free one, and you either are going to lose the Voice of Honor to the Policy Debate or something better, so just cancel it. So Micah thinking ahead and for shaming the already bowed Yoshi to get that honor token off of him. We can't see another court games this conflict due to the max restriction. But we do see the political rival, so I don't think that Micah's going to win this one. Has Largeness used his Manicured Gardens yet? He must have, because the conflict is over. Yes, this is his first action. So he's at 3 fate now with no standing characters, so he's not getting back to 4 to threaten a Fate Worse Than Death. Hotaru could potentially come in with 9 skill unopposed. Nope, see the Steward of Law. This guy's a huge pain in the ass on his own. PI Mittens adding to my commentary earlier about canceling the policy debate. You also protect hand knowledge. With a large hand, that's very important, especially at this level of play. So that's very true. If you have the ability to cancel that policy debate, just go for it, especially if it's a bully duel. Yeah, so attacking the Shameful with the Steward of Law is really, it's really begging Micah to defend. It's gonna break if he doesn't. There are no more let goes, so that span is safely affixed. Yeah, Micah's gonna trade provinces or play an assassination. So going down to 6 honor might be a little risky the way the game's been playing out, but he has the ability to swing back air and double trigger. Either going to 10 or going to 8 and putting Largeness down to 5 with unopposed. See if Largeness has the third Steward of Law or the second political rival. Well, he's down to 2 fate, so it is a charge Brash Samurai. I should have remembered that this was a military conflict, so the double trigger is not on the table. At the same time, there's no court games on Hotaru threatened either. So currently still breaking, and Largeness not running bonsai or swords. It has to be that third charge, and that's what we see. So no breaks, pretty even on honor, exactly equal on hands. Fairly close on board, with Micah getting the edge in board quality, especially after that dishonor comes down on Yoshi. Micah continues to just sort of incrementally build advantage, but doesn't have anything to show for it yet. He did have to spend all of his fate over the course of that turn. Looks like Grody took a little break from this game, coming back 45 minutes in and seeing no provinces broken. This is truly a Crane versus Crane with a Scorpion main on one side of the table. Largeness is a very accomplished Scorpion player, both online and in person. I think Micah has plenty to spend his fate on in this province row while having some very strong holdings at the same time. Playing a 3-fate Asami, just continuing to build that board. And 16 cards into the Dynasty deck, and no Guest of Honor for Largeness. It'll be interesting to see if Micah lets up on the draw this turn. He is first player with that Hotaru, doesn't necessarily have to. Largeness playing the way of the Crane in the Dynasty phase. Before Micah has a turn to draw, that's very strong. Definitely worth a fate here. Re-honoring Yoshi and putting an honor token on the politician. He has no voice of honor to threaten, so he should just go for stats. Yeah, so Largeness played Crane Season 5, which is this game, Unicorn in Season 4. Was Season 3 the first season he played in? Oh, I'm checking it now. He played Scorpion in Season 3. And Scorpion in Season 2. And perhaps most tellingly, I'm pretty sure he's playing Scorpion in the LCQ, if he's even playing it. I don't think he has to. Yeah, SirLargeness is one of our highest points earners in the Discord League, so he's not playing in the last chance qualifier. I think this is a very strong turn to play Waning Hostilities. Trying to prevent Micah from getting the most out of his fading up of his characters, and he'll be first player next turn with all of his relevant characters still on board. So Largeness bids 3, Micah bids 4. The interesting dynamic that the player who is lower on honor bid more. I think it's the right choice, but we'll have to wait and see. Both of these players more accomplished than myself. in my opinion. At the very least, they are more consistent. So we see cloud number 3 on Guest of Honor. No more let goes for this one. Man, this conflict is huge. 17 to 15. Yeah, we see a bully duel come out from Hotaru. Let's see what's in Largeness's hand. So we do have one fate worse than death, but no fate to play it. We have the second admit defeat, the second assassination, the dead censure for shame, ornate fan, outwit, policy debate, and steward. So depending on what's in Micah's hand, that policy debate could come out if Micah plays a small character. But as it stands, all of his dudes are pretty strong. He could force a high honor bid. Outwit threatened on Asami is decent. But he does have the ability to discard one of these cards. It'll be pretty telling to see if he gets rid of the Fate Worse Than Death. Not for this round, but for future rounds, since this game is apparently not going anywhere. Is that the third for shame or the second for shame? I think it's the second. Yeah, it's the second for shame. We've seen 2 Stewies come out already. Yeah, and we see the counter policy debate removed. That's a pretty safe play. You do have to wonder what spending that card does, though. It does reveal the other 8 cards, so definitely worth something. Leaving the Stewie for shame combo intact. Artisan gives rival 3 more skills, so Largeness winning this one so far, but with 4 characters committed to 3. Let's see if Micah's running 1x charge. I don't think so. Nope. 1 censure, 1 noble sack, 1 admit defeat. We've seen that admit defeat played already. We've seen no assassinations come out. Oh, we saw 1. That was don't actually recall. Yeah, Micah has the ability to pull back any of his big characters with the favorable ground. If he doesn't want to go for the win here, which would be fine, he could do that. There's only 1 conflict this round thanks to waning hostilities. For shame coming out on Yoshi, choosing to stay standing, likely to attempt to protect the province. He has a bunch of honoring cards left. Although not in hand as his hand was revealed. So his bottom 8 cards has 2 Way of the Crane, 2 court games. That's a bummer. Yeah, so we've seen the first shame trade here, with the notable distinction being that Largeness dishonored his Yoshi and Micah chose to bow Hotaru. I think he's gonna pull his guest of honor back before anything bad happens to it. Anything bad, now that I think of it, is literally nothing with this revealed hand. So it would just be to keep it standing. If not for the Imperial Palace, I think that Micah would be sweating a little bit on the Imperial favor. Still not a good thing to let Largeness get it. Yeah, I guess being pulled home. So Largeness glory count is at 3 right now, and Micah's at 4 with the Palace. Yeah, attacking in with the Challenger, not threatening a whole heck of a lot. I would just go for the Fate, right? Could admit defeat if he wanted. That'll let him stand. If he admit defeats and wins and stands Yoshi, he gets the favor. So that's not half bad. If it goes through, which it does. So this next turn is going to be very dangerous for Micah, but after that he should be fine. He does have to look out for his honor a little bit. With 10 cards left in the conflict deck, and we're on round or turn 5. We might be halfway done with this game if it keeps going like this. Yeah, Micah wisely protecting against the favor switching hands, but playing into the assassination that we saw earlier. Chat pointing out that if Micah had played for this round in the form of dishonoring Hotaru instead of bowing her, and actually won that conflict, triggering double void, he would have counted 4 on the favor, which would not have lost the favor to Largeness. Would have been 4 to 4 at best for Largeness. I think that's a smart consideration, although it would take a little bit of foresight, I suppose. Not a whole heck of a lot has happened since then, though, that he couldn't have seen coming. Yeah, there's no answer for that fine katana in play, so Micah does win it, and he will win the favor. So a little bit more sweat there than maybe he had to, but at the end of the day, he is a good player, saw the cards he saw, and made the plays he made, keeping the favor. So largeness is the person who's farther through his deck. He's got 2 fewer in his deck and 2 fewer in his hand. So that puts him down 4 cards. I think by the time we get there, both players will lose to decking themselves. There won't be enough honor in the game after that. The Hotaru Asami combo is very potent. Largeness has to play pretty defensively in general just to protect himself from that. But I don't know if we'll see any breaks this whole game. Yeah, both players in damage control mode, drawing 1, protecting their remaining cards. Micah put a Brash into play this round. Largeness put a Whisper into play. Largeness is out of assassinations. Micah's got 1 more. Yep, that's where we're sitting. Savvy Politician coming into Art of Peace. It's 3 skill. Kind of clunky to defend this for Micah, but he's going to defend with the Brash Samurai. Oh, this is a military, so that's 2 skill. I think both admit defeats have been played, and all Steward of Laws have been played from largeness. Yeah, Micah just winning it. Largeness notably threatening a fate worse than death. Possibly 2. Not sure back-to-back fate worse than death would be predicted here. Nor am I sure if it would be good. But it is an option that his deck would support. Would have had to been this 1 card for turn. We only saw 1 in his hand last round. Welcome to the stream, Rega. Yeah, this has been an interesting one. A lot of fate on characters, and a lot of winning but not breaking. I've only been up for about an hour though, so it may have felt like a long hour with no breaks, but not the longest game so far, by a long shot. At the very least, largeness intended to take his fate off of Manicured Gardens, surely. Whisper coming into Art of Peace, Asami defending. She will be able to take at least one honor with this play. Yeah, and that's all that's going to happen, I think. Is Micah going to go Void here? I think it's the only thing that makes sense. If he can protect his characters. Both characters pretty vulnerable to Fate Worse Than Death if he can't prevent it. If he can prevent to a Fate Worse Than Death, could get a pretty good attack in here. Largeness defending with the political rival. With the Asahina storyteller, or artisan, potentially pumping it up to 9. Second rival coming in instead. So 14 to 12 right now. Okay, so now one of the rivals is at 9 and can duel the rival of Micah if that's what he drew. Also just gives him the conflict. But we see a third rival come down for Micah. Correction, that's his second rival. But it is the fourth rival of the game. Still not threatening a break though. Yeah, rival is just a powerhouse in this matchup. Great for debates, great for covert, and great for defensive skill. This board is just keeps growing for Micah though. 5 giant characters right now. But to Largeness's credit, he has been defending very adeptly the entire game. The card difference in hand has grown to 3. I believe it was at 2 last round. And Largeness is at 5 honor after that one. After a long wait, we finally see a guest come out for Largeness. And with 11 Fate held back, it's an appealing buy. Yeah, Largeness buys the guest with 3 and passes. It's a good play. Saving the Hotaru for later. Threatening the fate worse than death again. It's very smart. Coming back at the Manicured Garden again. For this attack, I think it would be correct to attack the Meditations. Unless he has something really special in mind. He is giving fate every round to Largeness by continuing to attack. Alright, we've seen it. You saw here first, 1 hour, 9 minutes in. First break of the game, Manicured Garden goes down. Discarding a second copy of Hotaru. Largeness is on 3 copies of Hotaru, 3 copies of Yoshi. I think we've seen 2 Yoshi. So we've seen all the copies of Yoshi, and that is the second of 3 copies of Hotaru. The third one is still in Dynasty. Yeah, Largeness just concedes here. There is a political attack coming in for 3 honor swing, and eventually the dishonored characters will leave play, and he's got no answers left in his deck. Yeah, Largeness just GG's out here. Alright, chat, what do you think of this one? Anything either player could have done differently to make it a little bit more decisive? I saw, a little over an hour of very strong Crane play with neither player really giving an opening to the other one. Yeah, Largeness has to be feeling pretty bad about this one, Rega, because he declined the opportunity to participate in the LCQ, unless I'm mistaken. If we look at the bracket for Season 5, I believe this game was, yeah, Micah coming in at the 25th seed and Largeness at the 40th. Micah's next opponent will either be another Crane or Dragon or Unicorn. So, quite likely to be Dragon or Crane again, coming into the round of 32. Yeah, looking at the LCQ, I wasn't able to see SirLargeness anywhere in the bracket. Micah is here, though, I believe. Yeah, Micah came in number 3 in the seeding for the LCQ. And his first match, which is going to happen sometime next week, is versus either Crab player or Phoenix player. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with either of these players, so I can't really give any comment on that. Yeah, sure. If there's no one else lined up to stream Bill, I'm happy to give you guys someone to watch. Yeah, let me pull up the invitational points for you guys. So the way this works is unless we have a repeat winner again for season 5, or season 5, um, there will be 8 at-large points or spots for the invitational, which is coming up in May. Um, we see SirLargeness is here at number 3 with 32 points, and that includes, that includes the 3, which is all he's going to get for season 5. But given that this does include the players in the round of 32, the largest improvement that any player can make, I think, is 13 from what's showing here. And largeness would have to fall from 3rd down to 9th to be kicked out. And we see that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9th place is 24, so there'd have to be a lot. Basically all these other players have to let him down big time. Yeah, so Chad is saying that Micah is also a lock for the Invitational on at-large points. He's only 2 points behind largeness at 32, so I'd say that's quite likely. Alright guys, I'm going to go offline for a few minutes, but then I will come back in a little bit for Bill's league game if no one else is available to stream it.